To answer the question of why researchers and engineers should consider co-creation as a tool for developing their ideas, we will in this session show the many valuable outcomes of co-creation, present some of the key insights from prior projects and experience with public engagement, stakeholder engagement and co-creation, and explain how we try to address lessons and insights from previous projects for our co-creation process in GoNano. The goals for and objectives of working co-creatively with others can vary depending on the sector and project. In the private sector, the objectives of co-creation usually centers around gaining added value, but it can come in different ways. Involving end users can create more efficient production processes, as some activities can be delegated to them. End users have knowledge of the use, context, and functioning of a product that companies do not have. They can therefore become co-creators and a source of product and service innovation to help firms achieve a competitive advantage. Educated consumers want more involvement with the products they buy, and so co-creation initiatives themselves fill a market need. And co-creation allows for more flexible reaction to challenges of companies in order to support company and process innovation. In the public sector, and for the purposes of social innovation, the objectives of co-creation can be to increase the knowledge level on how different stakeholders experience a challenge or issue, to collect information and knowledge on the needs and ideas for solutions to problems, to test solutions and assumptions to see what is supported and what works in different contexts, to increase mutual understanding and trust among actors by the development of shared repertoire, socially robust knowledge by co-creation, providing a way of complementing expert knowledge to inform socially robust decision-making in science and technology. In GoNano, we build on the objectives from the public and private sectors to the following aims for co-creation on nanotechnologies in the context of research. Show the value of engaging citizens and private professional stakeholders in reflection on desirable directions and outcomes of nanotechnologies for food, energy and health. Here we thought of value in the form of examples of nanotechnologies, concepts, ideas and products that are aligned to public values, needs and expectations, and that are understood by the participants of the co-creation process as sustainable, desirable, and acceptable. Increased understanding on the side of societal actors of the possible contribution from nanotechnologies in the realization of solutions to societal challenges in health, food, and energy applications areas, as well as increased understanding on the side of industry and researchers of the societal context in which their innovation outcomes will have to be functional. A community of citizens, consumer and interest organizations, researchers, engineers, and policymakers working as change agents for the development of ROI conditions in nanotechnology research and innovation. A case on the value of co-creation and broad inclusion of stakeholders for alignment with societal values as a valuable business case for the portfolios of business and industry actors investing in nanotechnologies-enabled innovation. The GoNano methodology for co-creation was to be based on prior experiences with public engagement, stakeholder engagement, and co-creation carried out within the scope of EU research projects and national initiatives. Several projects have experimented with the best way of engaging researchers with citizens and societal stakeholders. In the GoNano-project, we analyzed 44 other projects and conducted several interviews with experts and co-creation practitioners to discover what lessons had already been learned so that we could address them in our co-creation methodology. Our main findings and key insights were: to ensure a constructive dialogue, which also can lead to practical action, it is central to address questions that the participating actors can influence through decisions and action. Therefore, it is important to think about questions like the following: what problems are we addressing? What sort of change do we want? Who is the problem owner? And which actions can address the issues identified during the meeting. Seeking out a shared goal that drives collaboration between stakeholders is also key. A good example of this is the collaboration between the chemical company DuPont and the environmental NGO Environmental Defense Fund on developing a risk assessment methodology for manufactured nanoparticles. Their common goal was to ensure the responsible development of nanoscale materials. The collaboration lasted for 3 years, with participants forming interdisciplinary project teams to work on specific problems. This worked well because it created a need for consensus. The participants were forced to listen to each other, to exchange ideas, work together, and co-create solutions. In terms of the kind of stakeholders to involve, the purpose of the initiative is key. If there is a genuine purpose, stakeholders can influence it. Clarifying the purpose is essential. Can we select issues about which the public is concerned and about which the information gleaned could be useful? In order to ensure a sustained and desirable level of engagement, it is necessary to address one or more of participants' motivations. The Making Sense project provides a good example of this in relation to engaging citizens. They mention 3 kinds of motivations for citizens to engage in their project. Some people are interested in the technology, namely in measuring and sensing, the technologies used and the science behind it. Some people are interested in the environment. They want to act on their concerns. They are motivated because these measurements can lead to better environmental outcomes. Some people are motivated by participation. They want to become involved in the political democratic process or just want to become acquainted with people in their city. It is important to have a clear problem diagnosis in order to clearly define what is at stake. For instance, what are the relevant issues that technology highlights with respect to our current norms and values? Cultivating a sense of urgency is key. In the case of nanotechnology, we need to ask, where's the urgency? Why do people or civil society organizations have to respond now? From the lessons learned from others and the theoretical framework supporting our process, we saw it as important to focus on specific sectors in order to create a sense of urgency and define the stakes. We chose the sectors of food, energy, and health. Connect with industry and research visions for future nanotechnology-enabled applications and ideas about how nanotechnologies could be applied in the future. What we discovered in those sectors were several priority areas for future development, as well as central challenges that could motivate the participation of the professional stakeholders in the co-creation process. The industry and research visions are presented in the information material we developed for our co-creation process. They are available on the GoNano website. We will talk more about them in the session on GoNano methodology for co-creation. The next question was to consider the stakes for civil society organizations, policymakers, and citizens. Could there be moral, cultural, or political issues at stake that would make involvement meaningful to them? From literature search, we found several issues that could be influenced by and/or influence the development of new technological options or technologies. We developed 9 future scenarios to illustrate the issues and show what could be at stake in the use of nanotechnology-enabled applications in the future. These scenarios are also available on the GoNano website and will be covered in the session on the GoNano methodology for co-creation as well. In general, there are few women in science. The degree of women's underrepresentation increases with the level of occupational hierarchy in the STEM fields. The result of this is that the core values and assumptions in these fields, including nanotechnology, have been fundamentally shaped by men and male norms. The underrepresentation of women in the natural sciences contribute to deficits within the scientific enterprise. Value is added to research and innovation activities by integrating sex and gender diversity in the workforce and in research, which introduces diverse and new viewpoints or ideas. By ensuring innovation, excellence, and quality in outcomes and enhancing sustainability, and by making research more responsive to societal needs. In setting up the co-creation process in GoNano, we tried to ensure a 50-50 representation of men and women in our workshops, both with respect to the participants and the working staff, and we developed information material that could illustrate possible bias in future nanotechnologies application. A central outcome of the type of co-creation project such as GoNano is what we call responsiveness and trust. Responsiveness is a complex concept central to the framework of responsible research and innovation, which we discussed in the previous session. It is important to understand that responsiveness at its core is about the ability to respond to both the positive and negative consequences of research and innovation. It adds to our understanding of being responsible. Rather than responsibility being reactive, like holding someone accountable or liable for past damage, in RI, it is an active and future-oriented attitude. In GoNano, we try to facilitate forward-looking responsibility in three ways. Since no one can predict the future and societal challenges in the areas of food, energy, and health are complex, no one has the full overview of complete knowledge needed to come up with solutions. Therefore, it makes sense to involve different stakeholder groups as well as citizens that can each provide a piece of the puzzle in understanding an issue and coming up with possible solutions. At its core, this is what the GoNano-project did in a four-step facilitated process, including multiple perspectives and experiences as aids in the forward-looking understanding of responsibility by trying to anticipate complexity and the many different ways that an innovation can impact different groups or parts of society. Seeing that due to the complexity of the many possible ways technologies can develop and become implemented in society, the next key step is to act on such insights in the research and development process. Examples of possible issues could be medical applications that unintentionally work better for some ethnic groups than others, or energy reduction technologies that increase electronic waste. The challenge for policymakers is to increase the right incentives for organizations, industry, and businesses to not only recognize but also to take on board identified values, needs, and concerns. 3. Finally, becoming more responsive to the complexity of societal challenges and to societal needs and values are skills that need training and capacity building for research, policy, and institutions to master. It can be achieved through capacity building and training combined with institutionalization and integration of responsiveness vertically across levels of governance, like local, national, and international levels, as well as horizontally across groups of expertise. In this session, we tried to show what can be achieved through co-creation and why researchers and engineers should consider working co-creatively with citizens and stakeholders in their research and innovation processes. In the next sessions, we will focus more on how to do co-creation in practice.